I'm so delighted that we have Ambassador Mara Marinaki with us, who is from the European Commission. I'll let you introduce yourself, but again, thank you so much for the commitment you're already making. But over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, rather, everybody. Yes, indeed, my name is Mara Marinaki, and I represent not only the Commission, the whole of the European Union. Essentially, my role is as the principal advisor in charge of gender and all women, peace and security aspects in the European Union's external action. And of course, we work closely together and interact with the Commission, with the European Parliament, with the Council, with all member states, and with our preferred interlocutors, which is civil society. We feel that indeed you are the heart and the lungs of what we do, because you provide us exactly with the right kind of feedback that we need in order to keep ourselves on our tracks and not to lose our perspective. And regarding FGM, I always think, and I get extremely upset, we have two kinds of catastrophes or disasters. We have the natural ones and the man-made ones. The FGM, for once, is woman-made, which makes all the difference in the sense that we inflict, and in the vastest majority of cases, it's women performing the cut and holding the razor. So we inflict this kind of lifelong wound on our babies, on our children, on our daughters, granddaughters, smaller sisters, ourselves. And we hamper their whole future. We put them hostage before they even set their feet on the ground, literally. And this is of our own doing. And I cannot really find any logical explanation that could justify this criminal behavior. I consider that any excuses that might be taken up, be it on the cultural level, on the traditional level, on the tribal level, on the religious level, on the social level, none of them can hold water to the pain that is inflicted on our own children and on the future of our own society. Because this is absolutely detrimental to the society, it is absolutely detrimental to all of us, and at the end of the day, neither we nor men and boys, as well as even less the children, the girls, deserve this kind of behavior. From the side of the European Union, it would be an understatement to say that we are committed. We are there, we keep our eyes on the ball, and we will continue to do so. We have already committed 11 million euros on FGM-specific projects. We will continue with further contributions, but we have gone an extra step. And this has taken the form of a joint endeavor, a joint, very challenging new approach. And this is called the Spotlight Initiative. It's a joint initiative that is engaged by the European Union and the United Nations worldwide to tackle prevalent forms of violence against women. And this is one of the most prevalent forms, and we tackle it in the sub-Saharan Africa area with an amount that would be quite around 200 million euros. So we are talking about very important contributions that would tackle across the board. It should not be only FGM. It will take up son preference. It will take up, of course, child marriage in all its forms. But at the crux of the matter, harmful practices are really the danger that is looming for any kind of women's empowerment to take real form and stock. I would like to stop at that, but more than happy to take up individual elements in our discussion, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Thank you. Jacinta Muteshi, Senior Associate at Population Council. So my role at Population Council is to lead on the Evidence to End FGMC research project. As many of you know, the Population Council has been at the forefront of undertaking research on FGMC. So this is a new investment supported by the British government. At this point, what I would like to highlight is that our work exists to answer those questions or to fill those gaps around the work we do to support the abandonment of FGMC. So our research program is looking broadly at 4 areas of research. The first being to create an understanding about the nature of prevalence around FGMC. I mean, that may seem kind of obvious because we have statistics on national prevalence. But what we're trying to do is to actually make that more concrete by saying that there is value in moving to subnational data so that you begin to actually see the hotspots where the interventions actually need to be happening. The second broad area of research is looking at interventions. We are asking the broad question, what works? And this is actually a very difficult question to answer, and we're looking sort of retrospectively at interventions. But we're seeking to know what is it that people have done in the past that have worked, so that those lessons can begin to scale up new interventions going forward. And the reason it is not an easy question to answer is because often when we work, we're not always documenting really clearly what it is that we're doing so well. So part of our task will be to begin to share that type of knowledge. Our third area of research broadly is looking at the wider impacts of FGMC, the wider impacts on the lives of women, girls, boys, and men. And the final thematic area for our research project is asking questions around measurement. How do we measure rigorously what we're doing, particularly social norms, which are very complex to understand and measure. So we're trying to provide our contribution to how we might understand and document, monitor what kinds of capacities and skills make that happen in terms of moving forward. So that's the broad area of our work. Later on, I'll share with you a bit more what are some of the interesting evidence and findings that we have that I think will begin to inform where we might be needing to move forward in our work. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Molly Melching. I have lived in Senegal for 43 years now and was the founder, or still am the founder, but I was the CEO, but have recently transitioned, still remaining at Tostan as the creative director. And so we have a new CEO, I'm happy to say, who's wonderful. So Tostan is a non-governmental organization which was founded in 1991, and we have our international headquarters located in Dakar, Senegal. I think most of you know that we are intervening currently in 5 West African countries, and we also have been in Somalia and Djibouti in East Africa. Our 3-year non-formal education program has to date been implemented in over 3,000 communities. In resource poor and remote communities where almost no women and very few girls who may have been to school but often dropped out at a very early age, often because they were married at 12 or 13 years old. Our empowering program is organized in each community by a facilitator who receives extensive training before they go into these communities, and they speak the same language, of course. They are from neighboring communities. They're all local facilitators. And they are able to provide the information and the skills that are necessary for people to lead and sustain their own development initiatives. It is a holistic program which has led to many results in many different areas, in areas of literacy, women and youth leadership, improved community health, and also economic empowerment. In fact, our indicators are 56 right now in the 5 major issue areas that we cover in the program, and that we regularly monitor and evaluate from the very beginning of the program at the baseline to a midterm and end evaluation at the end of the 3-year cycle. Our program has also been evaluated externally, and I would like to recognize Nafi Job, who is here with us today. From when she was at the Population Council, she was the first to come to me and say, "You're having results, but you need to get it evaluated. We need to see the results from this program." So thank you, Nafi. She was the first to lead that evaluation with the Population Council. And it showed us that we were on the right track, and we went on to have many other evaluations after that in our entire program, but also specifically on female genital cutting. And we are perhaps best known for the results we have had in the areas of female genital cutting and child marriage abandonment. And it was through this Human Rights Empowering Education program. To date, 8,426 villages have all come to public declarations with their social networks to publicly announce their decision to abandon both of these practices in 8 African countries where we have done our program. And actually, these declarations did not come in 2 weeks, in 2 months. It was after a 3-year program, and often longer. It often took longer. And it came through what Tostan calls values deliberation. In fact, what this process involves is for communities to identify their vision for the future, and also what the important values that they want to maintain during the development process, what those are. And identifying those, they look at what practices can either help them to achieve their goals of well-being, or what can hinder them from achieving these goals. And it is in this process that people suddenly say, wait a minute, these are practices which harm our daughters. They have even led to death. They're talking about issues for the first time because they're in a safe space, a safe environment, discussing this, and realize that these they are bringing harm to their daughters, whereas this does not go along with their deeper values of health and well-being for the community. So the participant and community members then constitute a core group of educated and highly motivated citizens who then reach out to their extended families, to their social networks. That includes women, men, traditional and religious leaders who reach out to advocate for health and for well-being. It's a positive movement. It's not fighting against FGC. It is promoting health and well-being, and it's exciting to people because it's not a blame and shame movement. It is one positive and one that people feel proud of being part of. And this is helping to build this grassroots movement for social transformation in their own country and even across the border. And that has been largely thanks to Orchid Project, has helped us considerably in doing that. In allowing the people who've gone through the program, the communities, to go out to other communities and work with them to support them in ending the practice also. I just want to briefly say that we do trainings now. We have had 303 participants at our training center, often sponsored by Orchid Project, Girls Not Brides, and also the Carter Center, who they are here today. And the religious leaders who came, who are sitting behind you from Nigeria, actually, when they went through our training program of 10 days at the Tostan Training Center, went back to Nigeria, and so proud of Anike, who actually organized 200 religious leaders to understand the values alignment between human rights and the Quran, verses from the Quran, and convince those religious leaders to abandon the practice in their villages, also to support the movement to abandon practices. So our experience has shown that social norms such as female genital cutting, which involves expectations from other members of the extended family or the social network, and which involves severe sanctions if the practice is not followed by one person or one family in that network, that it can be changed by providing a human rights-based education in national local languages and supporting the people themselves to be the agents of positive change reaching out to their networks in order to create a critical mass of people who will soon turn the tide and lead to the total abandonment of FGC in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. As you heard, my name is Dr. Caroline Odula. I'm from the University of Nairobi, Kenya. I am a reproductive health specialist, and in my work as an obstetrician and gynecologist, I have been on the service end of witnessing women who have gone through FGM and C. But now as I stand here, I'm wearing a new hat. I am the chair of the board of directors of the Coalition on Violence Against Women. And this has helped me greatly see where COVAW has significantly contributed to where we want to prevent all forms of violence against women and girls. So we started with sexual and gender-based violence, and COVAW contributed in this being on the national agenda. And because of COVAW, we were able to put sexual, sexual bill went through Parliament, and we were able to assist in that. COVAW has been in existence for 23 years as a non-for-profit, Kenyan-based organization. The headquarters of COVAW is in Nairobi. Through the efforts of Orchid Project, we were able to do a baseline survey in a specific community. It's a county, southern part of Narok. The county is called Narok, in the southern part of Narok, in 3 small communities. We were able to discover that 78% of the women aged between 14 and 17 had undergone the cut. What does this mean? It means that only 26% of them had transitioned from primary to secondary level education. And what is the Kenyan average of transition? It's 40%. So you can see very well that the ladies, women and girls in Narok were really lagging behind. Thanks to Orchid Project, this process is continuing, and through COVAW, we are able to start the conversations on the ground. Similar to what Molly is doing, the conversations, we want the people who are affected to start the conversations because it is a benefits-based approach. We are not lording over them and saying, oh, this is a national agenda, let's end FGC. Look at what is happening to our girls. They're getting married earlier, they're exposed to HIV, AIDS, they do not get educated. Early marriages to much, much older men as second, third, fourth wives. So they're exposed to HIV, they're exposed to pregnancy-related complications, and especially during delivery. Through COVAW, we have been able to start the community dialogues, train the actual women who were the cutters, train them to give alternative rites of passage to these women. Because they thought, oh, I'm not a woman yet, I'm having, maybe my man says, but when I get cut, I become a woman. So we're having these community dialogues. We are talking to the duty bearers. We're talking to the gender-based offices. Don't come and lord over this community. Have the conversation. Let them see for themselves the benefits of dropping this practice. Because what happens when there's a lot of policing, this practice goes under the carpet. It goes under the table. And parents, really, I would disagree when you say it's a woman-led. It's the men in the community who feel their wives should take their daughters for the practice. Where does the practice move? Through our porous neighbors into neighboring countries, Somalia, Tanzania, Uganda, and this process is continuing underground. Through COVAW, I'm happy to say that we have conducted media campaigns, we have built online campaigns, we want people to talk about it. We are doing exchange visits, we're supporting the community so that in their little spaces, as they're doing their own little things, as they're going about their day-to-day community work, it's not silence. Let's not talk about it like violence against girls is. Now it is on the table. Women can talk about it. They can see, oh, we are losing our young girls, as Julia said. Some of these girls are aged below 5 years of age. I'm sorry to.
It's a theme. We've all called each other different names today, so it's great. Well done.
So I'm going to stop there because I'm.
Thank you so much. What an incredible panel.
Well, I cannot agree more with Molly. Essentially, it boils down to engaging the family and the parents. and you need to engage both the fathers and the mothers, because ultimately they are the ones who bring their children to FGM. So at the end of the day, they need to be fully aware and conscious of their responsibility. We need to train all the relevant professionals coming from schools, going to medicals, midwives, nurses, doctors, all the community, religious, and everybody else who could live and affect decision-making in any community, including the midwives and the cutters. And definitely the government should take up the responsibility in feeling the accountability of being answerable to what they have done. This should become an item on which they should be checked, and their performance should be judged also in the context of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. It should be an element upon which they should be qualified if they perform well or not. And at the end of the day, all of us should do our daily check.
Given where I'm situated and where I come from, I keep reiterating the importance of having evidence. We know that there are many very important critical interventions that have been undertaken globally. We know that some of them have indeed begun to have an effect, and so we see changes in certain contexts. In others, universal prevalence remains. So the need remains to understand what is actually happening. So one of the things that I want, the message I would like to leave is that as we work to end or to support the abandonment of FGMC practice, one of the key things that does need to happen is to have all of you help us understand what is it that you are doing. So that you can say what you're doing is what is actually making the difference, because that is the evidence. That actually is the evidence that we then use to inform other programmatic activities. That is the evidence we use to inform policymakers about the direction we need to go. That is the evidence we use with regards to guiding future strategic investments. So I can't harp on that enough, that it's so important to collect this evidence. I know we get very passionate about what we're doing, because yes, we must be passionate in order to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. And yes, importantly also is the need to recognize that this is not a single issue. It is connected to so many aspects of women's lives. So I was happy to hear the participants speak to the need to situate this within the broader discussions of violence against women. That's really, really important.
Thank you very much. We recognize the need not to work in silos, because in very many organizations, particularly in Kenya, people are working in silos and not really bringing positive change in wherever they're working at. So if we're going to work together to end violence, all forms of violence against women and girls, let's not make the forms of violence to be in silos as well. Let the forms of violence eradication come together. Like if I'm going to Narok, I'm going to talk about early marriages, FGC, girl-child education. The longer we keep our girls in schools, how do we do that? It's like Molly, Jacinta, and the ambassador says, it's at the family level. The parents need education. In-school education, out-of-school education. Let the girl feel sensitive and know that she's an important human being. And she needs to reach where the rest of the other girls the world over are reaching. So if we're working in silos, I think we're going to be our own enemies. I think it's very important to end all forms of violence at the same time to reach where we want to go at the shortest time possible, because it takes a lot of patience. Thank you.
Thank you so much.